For 6 years, I was the head teacher of the Willow Special School, which supported some of the most troubled children in Hillingdon in West London. And the very best thing about my school, something I can claim absolutely no credit for whatsoever, I'm afraid, was First Steps, our nursery. Children came to First Steps because they were unable to cope in a mainstream setting. These were children who were showing extreme emotional and behavioural difficulties and who were often virtually out of control at home and also in their setting. And they spent up to 3 terms in the nursery with Helen, where her team worked relentlessly with the children but also with the parents to change the behaviour and to make that transition either back into nursery or back into school. And her results were absolutely remarkable. I think fewer than 10% of children ever came back into the behaviour world again, into special schools or with statements. And when we're thinking about the types of families that she was working with, that was remarkable. The vast majority settled back into mainstream schools and went on to achieve as well as their peers did. And I think if you compare that 10% figure with what happens in, for example, a young offenders institution where nearly 80% of those children are back within a year, it shows the power, I think, of early intervention. And the earlier you intervene, the easier it is to make progress and the more likely it is that progress is sustained. To this extent, I believe that nothing in a child's education is more important than the time they spend in early years provision. A good early years environment has the power to transform children's lives, particularly children from the most deprived backgrounds who don't get the attention, the stimulation, and the support that they need at home. And I'm delighted that the early years are part of NCTL's remit going forward. We know that good quality childcare and preschool provision, especially from age 2 upwards, has positive benefits on children's all-round development, and those benefits remain throughout children's education. So my aim is for us to develop a 0 to 18 system that is led by the best schools, early years providers, leaders and professionals working together for the benefit of our children. Over the last few years, the early years has been a shining example of the education system as a whole, and it's improving. The quality of early years provision goes from strength to strength. 74% of provision is now good or outstanding compared to 65% 3 years ago. And that compares with Ofsted's recent update on schools, which were rating 66% as good or outstanding. There's a strong body of evidence to show that the quality of early years provision is higher when early years practice is led by graduates. The research is clear that the use of specialised graduates leads to improvement in quality and in the early years, particularly for preschool-age children. So we've extended the Teach First scheme into the early years as part of the system, bringing some of the brightest young graduates to work for 3- and 4-year-old children in some of the most disadvantaged areas of the country. And we've built on the early years professional programme to introduce the new status of early years teacher, equivalent to qualified teacher status, attracting even more high-quality graduates into a career in early education. I believe that nothing in a child's education is more important than the time they spend in early years provision. A good early years environment has the power to transform children's lives, particularly children from the most deprived backgrounds who don't get the attention, the stimulation, and the support that they need at home. The new early years foundation stage and profile fit more closely with the national curriculum in Key Stage 1. The new early learning goals, particularly in the area of literacy and mathematics, are more stretching than under the 2008 EYFS, and they align with Year 1 programmes of study under the new national curriculum. The government wants to make it easier for nurseries and childminders to, and Panima's referred to this, expand by extending the planning relaxations recently announced for state-funded schools, such as using vacant office spaces to nurseries. Currently, nurseries are limited to buildings categorised as non-residential, assembly and leisure. The change could see nurseries opening up in former offices, hotels, hospitals, without the owners having to apply for change of use planning permission. A current consultation on proposals, greater flexibilities for change of use, closes on the 15th of October, and the government hopes the changes will come into force from April next year. I know NDNA have made a real contribution to workforce development in the sector, and I'd like to thank you for this. We all want high-quality opportunities for peer-to-peer learning and improvement to be the norm. We know the best learning is generated by the sector for the sector. In developing a self-improving 0 to 18 system, we need to break down the barriers, preventing great practice and expertise being shared and reciprocated. This will benefit all children entering and progressing through our education system. This is a real opportunity for you and for the sector, building on the great work you've already done, and continue to do in improving children's lives. And I hope that you will come with us on this journey and that you will work with NDNA and with NCTL to help this vision become a reality. Thank you very much indeed.